Thanks for that. So I'm here to talk to you about serendipity today. My serendipity is a mashup of my experiences of gratitude and appreciation, of humility and grace. But most importantly, my serendipity is about love. When I have opened myself up to receive the gifts of the universe, I have found a deep and profound love. And that's what's brought me here today, surrounded by new friends and soon-to-be new friends, where we're sharing deep love and appreciation for one another. My story starts with where I grew up. So I'm from a small town in northern Maine, a town called Caribou. It's a very isolated rural community built on agriculture and forestry. My family's been in this area since the late 1800s. And my mother and I are the only two in my family who have actually left. It's a very typical story of this environment. Many generations have lived there and died there. It's a community of suffering and decay, but has a strong will of perseverance and survival. I was raised on very austere values of hard work paves the path to glory. Idle hands are the work of the devil. You have choices in life, some good, some bad, and that choice you make is your plight in life. There was no talk of luck. There was no talk of better luck next time, good luck. None of that. Serendipity was not part of my community, my culture, my upbringing. It was hard work that got you there. And I worked hard. My story starts with my grandmother and her house in northern Maine, in a small community called Parham, outside of Caribou. It's a house that my mother was born and raised in. I had the chance to buy my grandmother's house many years ago, 1998. And I put together plans, and I worked very hard to say, how am I going to renovate this house? What is this house actually going to be? And then I put it all aside with no real intention. It just didn't seem to materialize for many years until last year. And for whatever reason, last year I decided this is my year to renovate this house. And I went after it in a big way. I hired a project engineer. I hired people to do demolition and land work. And as that house, as the demolition began and all that clutter in that house started to be taken away, cleared away, I could see the potential of this house. And my potential got tied up into its potential. And I could just feel this energy emerging in me. This great transformation was coming. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was something big. And everybody thought I was crazy. This is a very austere community, right? It's like you do not look kind of frugal or wasteful in that community. The house was actually levitating at one point. I had to replace the rock foundation. I mean, people thought I was absolutely crazy, but I just knew there was something coming. And then I met Siraj and discovered Temenos. And I learned about personal mythology, clean slate, personal vision. And I learned about discernment and how do you identify those distractions and fantasies in your life so that you can really focus on your life purpose. And it was all really coming together for me. And I started to understand my vision. So when Siraj asked me, he heard the story of this house and my grandmother. And he asked me, what are you going to do with this property? Why this house? Why this place? And I said, my grandmother speaks to me in this house. I was raised in this house. Both my parents worked, and so all of my school day, all my school holidays, all my sick days were spent in that house. It was just a warm, inviting, filled with music and love and family, and my grandmother. And she instilled in me such a sense of belonging and community and storytelling that just made such sense to me. She taught me so many things. She taught me my first words. She loaned me her car so that I could learn how to drive. But most importantly, she taught me how to fill a house with love. And so this home, this house, now has a purpose. It will be the home of my foundation. And my foundation is to help little girls achieve their hopes and dreams, much as my grandmother helped me achieve my hopes and dreams. And not a million girls, just a handful of little girls in my community, and fill that house with love and gratitude and grace and humility. And I'm happy to say that my grandmother's birthday was November 5th, and I filed the paperwork for my foundation on November 5th. So that part of my vision is coming to fruition. Thank you. Thanks. You're the first to hear. Then I discovered this community. After the STIA conference last year in Indianapolis was a project incubator event. And again, you know, Siraj is like, why don't you come and pitch your idea at this project incubator event? And it was literally 4 days before the event, and I still have my journal entry. And I had this foundation idea, but really what's foundational to me is building a community of women. And it wasn't clear to me, again, kind of what this was going to look like and what shape was this going to take. But I just knew that this was a calling, this was my life purpose, to build a community of women, to build a community of women where we share our stories of transformation. Because I really believe in the power of a story. And I do believe that when we share our stories of transformation, we are transformed. Both the storyteller and the story listener, we have that moment of transformation. So I went to the Project Incubator event, made some new friends who are here in this room also. And when Carol Mays, her facilitator, said, who wants to go first? I do. I'm going first. And I pitched my idea. And it was just kind of a very nebulous idea. You know, what's this community of women actually going to look like? And through the course of the process, you know, people kind of clustered around the big ideas in the room. You know, education in the 21st century with Carol Gorelick. Big energy problems, big poverty problems. And here I was saying I wanted to build a community of women through storytelling. And I stood alone. And it didn't bother me because I knew I was grounded in my life purpose. I knew by saying this out loud in front of this group of people, there was such warmth and generosity and acceptance that I was in the right place in the right time, that serendipity was showing its hand to me loud and strong. So Michael Sales worked with me for the afternoon, and we developed kind of what does my vision actually look like, and what does it look like from a plan point of view, and what does it look like in terms of my profession, in terms of my life purpose. I've been in IT my entire life, and so building that community of women is equally as important to me in my professional life as it is in my personal life. And it was the birth of my company, A New Mythology for Women. And Seoul Society for Organizational Learning, who was sponsoring this event, picked it up as part of their project incubator. And it really gave me kind of that next leap forward, that acceleration to say, I am really onto something. And it was kind of a meandering, to be honest. It was kind of like in that moment to say, this really is what I am here to do. So serendipity. I had the opportunity to sponsor the Chesapeake Bay Organization Development Network in April. And 2 days after that event, Through that event, I introduced a keynote speaker, Danielle Laporte. And 2 days after that event was my 51st birthday. And I was looking at Danielle's website, and I ran across Urban Campfire. And Melody Behringer, who's here also, very dear new friend, full of love for one another. And I read about Urban Campfire, and it was all about building a community of women, having authentic conversations, getting to that vulnerable spot so that we can make those human connections, those interrelationships that are so important to us. And again, I knew in that moment, this was the event for me. This was the relationship that I was looking for. And I called Melody. We had a long conversation on the phone and realized that we were sharing our hopes and dreams through this event, through this building a community of women. And we took action. And I'm, again, very fortunate and honored and humbled to say that we've brought this to over 600 women since August. And it's been a phenomenal, phenomenal journey so far, with much more to come in the future. So serendipity, really listening to those gifts that the universe is presenting to us, really opening yourself up to receive those gifts, really leaning back and just taking what the universe has to offer, and acting on it. Right? Serendipity. The community sense that brings us here today, all of us together, is a serendipitous moment. The work we've kind of done together so far this morning has ignited moments of serendipity. It's created those connections and created love with somebody you've never even met before. And so I want to challenge and offer to you, are you open and ready to receive the gifts of the universe? Are you listening for these moments of serendipity? Are you ready to explore what this conference and this community has to offer us today, tomorrow, Saturday, and beyond? It is a mashup of all of us in our experience and our thinking, but it's more about the future and what our life purpose has to offer. Thank you.